afternoon. Thank you for coming and welcome to St. Rose. My name is Dorothy Eastley. For those of you that don't know who I am, I kind of recognize several people here. Anyway, this used to be the parish hall of Sodus Point, and it was called the Loomis Hall. And it's been since the Civil War in the 1821. Bruce, if I need help, can I call on you?
Well, you've been fine so far.
I'm not the historian, by the way. She's 90 years old and she's in an assisted living. I do have a cheat sheet, so you might see me flipping through some papers. But anyway, this was built by the Loomis brothers, and it was for the preaching of many different congregations. They were welcome to come and use it on a Sunday or whenever they wanted to. There's been some weddings in here, some funerals, back in the 1820s. And for whatever purpose it was needed, this is what it was. The judge was right up here with his gavel, and he's praying and doing whatever he had to do. So with that, Loomis Hall was what it was called. And it was, like I said, between 1861 and 1865. Now, beginning in around 1876, Sodus Point was a mission station out of St. Michael's in Lyons. So in 1885, Rose Loomis and her sister Georgette deeded this hall to the Catholic Diocese of Rochester. Bishop McQuaid blessed it as St. Rose Church in 1886. So back in 1887, St. Rose Church was incorporated under the name on December in 1887. The reason for that was it's called St. Rose because of Rose Loomis, who deeded it to the Catholic missionaries of Rochester. So the reason it was called St. Rose was because her name was Rose. St. Rose is over there to my right. And that was donated by one of our generous parishioners years ago. She was, I'll give you a little bit of history about St. Rose. She was, I'll find it. She was born in Peru, sometime in the year of 1586. At the age of 20, she entered the convent and became a Dominican sister, dedicating her life to prayer and Eucharist. Her most heroic work was among the poor people of Peru. She's credited with being the first person to begin any kind of outreach to the poor in South America. She died at the age of 31 and was the first native-born person in the Americas to be canonized as saint by the Holy Father. I know you're all curious about the stained glass windows. We can't answer that. They've been here forever. When the church was built, the stained glass here in the church itself came with it. And we've added storm windows and some upkeep, some painting. I'll talk about the stained glass window in the back a little bit later because that's more recent. Bob, do you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation?
You did well.
Please say yes. Joan?
No, I'm listening to you.
Okay. So, from the start, this little church of Sodus Point had been named after the patron saint of St. Rose, and its founder was Rose Loomis. She gifted it to the church in 1844, and she had a sister, Georgette. She wasn't born Catholic, she was actually Episcopalian. And the minister, Episcopalian minister, also became Catholic. So that is how she became the donor of St. Rose, and her name after our St. Rose statue. Trying to think what else you might want to know. We've had a lot of very generous sponsors back in the day. Like, I don't know if you know who Cora Helfer was from the Helfer Marina here years and years ago. No? The Helfers? Sure. Cora was her name. And she provided a lot of financial help to repair the work here that had to be done. New floor had to be installed. We had no water for a long time, just, within the past 25 years, I think it is, since we've had water in here. And I'll talk about the stained glass window back there. That came from Father Dillon. I'm sure many of you remember Father Dillon. It was in 1985, actually, that he was a priest here. And this particular glass windows came from Rochester in the St. Patrick's Cathedral. So it was brought here to go with the window that was back there. So that's one of our most recent
Windows, the upper stained glass windows, they weren't here when they were?
Yeah, as far as we know, we can't find anything on those stained glass windows. We assumed that they came when the building was made. We assumed that they were put in then. We just recently opened them this summer for the first time because our air conditioner broke. So the storm window has to come off first, and then you open the windows. So every Sunday, the storm windows come off, and open the window and put the storm windows back on. But it was to protect the stained glass that the storm windows were put on. Okay, we had Saturday night mass years ago, and so back in 1980s, I think, was when we had the Saturday night mass here. Any of you remember the Saturday night mass? No, I do. No, there weren't enough people here to contribute to the upkeep of this little church, along with the Epiphany. We're all called St. Maximilian Kolbe. And just within the past 6 years, we combined with St. Mary's of the Lake and Sodus Point, Sodus, and now we're incorporated with Macedon also, and Palmyra. So that's a lot of work for one priest. So we do have a new young priest that just started a few weeks ago, actually. So with that, we close in the winter, and we just go from one year to the next. We don't know what next summer will bring because of the shortage of the priests, and also some repair work that needs to be done in the church. There's mold in the basement, so we can't use the basement. That's where the restrooms are. And we have about 150 to 175 every Sunday at the 8:30 service. And then we also have the one at Epiphany, which anywhere is between 80 and 100 parishioners. A lot of visitors, and they help support St. Rose. Anything to add to that, Bruce? Fill me in.
Just about Rose Loomis. It's interesting the connection between Rose Loomis and St. Rose. Now, St. Rose, as she mentioned, was really known in Peru for donating to the needy and the poor. And Rose Loomis did the same thing here in Sodus Point.
Yes.
She was really well known for catering to people who needed help and needed food. And there's two things that were named after, well, actually, that came about as a result of her generosity. One is there was a tour boat on Finger Lakes called the Rose Loomis. And there was also a plaque put into I believe it was a hospital down in, what was it, where did she die? North Carolina, South Carolina, someplace like that, for her help that she did down there. And the interesting thing about it is, in both of those places, both on a tour boat and in this medical facility where she gave her time and effort to the poor and the needy, there have been reports of her spirit appearing. So, apparently, she gave it all during the life and maybe in the afterlife as well, we don't know. But she was really a wonderful, truly a saint of a person by her own standards.
She died at such an early age,
She did.
30 years old.